Hi, everybody. Welcome to MindSpark Monday. I'm Melissa Boston with MindWorks Collaborative, and today I'm so excited. I have two very seasoned special educators who have been in the field for a long, long time, although their age and their faces would not be able to tell you that. But I'm going to introduce to you Miss Latia Howard and also Miss Shaunique Poole. And both of these ladies I've had the privilege of knowing for quite some time. And I think they're going to give you some real good information and some nuggets, hopefully, to take home and to maybe implement in your own programs. So I'll start with you, Ms. Poole. Why don't you introduce yourself? Well, I've already done that. Why don't we talk more about, we'll cut to it, how long you've actually been in the field, what you're currently doing, what your current role is, the population you serve, and then just let us know if this is a district school, a non-public, or a private school. Carter as well.
All right. Yes, I've been in the special education field for about 9 years now, since 2011. I'm currently working in the District of Columbia in a charter school, serving the grades 6th through 8th, as well as I'm a special education coordinator. So I've been there for about 4 years now.
Prior to being a SPED coordinator, though, what grade band did you teach?
I've been across the board. So I started out in high school. So working with grades 9 through 12, and then it seemed like middle school just kept pulling me back into its reign. So I've been working with middle school for probably the past 6 years. And so I guess amongst different, ELA, math, as far as between charter schools and then the non-public world.
Gotcha. All right. So Latia, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been working in the field? Are you currently working in a district or a private school? What population you work with and what your current role is?
So I've been working in the field for approximately 20 years. I started out in elementary and now I'm in high school. So I have a range of age groups as well that I've dealt with. So yes, almost 20 years, elementary to high school, and right now I deal with grades 9 through 12.
Got it. Okay. And when you say you deal with 9 through 12, what is your actual role at your school?
I'm a special education teacher. I teach English. I teach English 9, but my caseload is 9 through 12.
Got it. Okay, so you're in a co-teaching model, right?
I'm in a co-teaching model and I have classes on my own.
Oh, okay, so you do both. Okay,
yes,
got it.
both.
And that's not your only role at the school, though. You're also, you have a bigger role in the athletics department, right?
Yes, I am the girls varsity basketball coach.
I love that. Yay, I know. Well, we fans of basketball, fans of sports for girls. So I think that, is a good way to spend a little bit of time you probably do have.
But I do think my background in special education helps also with relating basketball to others too as well. But I'm sure we'll talk in detail more about that. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. No, I agree with you. All right, great. Well, and you both, just one of the things that popped in my mind was degree level. So you both have completed your master's degree, right?
Yes.
Great. So we're talking about a level of expertise here that goes beyond just your bachelor's degree. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Okay. So really what we want to talk about today, and I know a lot of families are struggling with this. A lot of schools are struggling with this. A lot of educators in classrooms, people who hold your role, Ms. Poole, as far as the overseer of the special education IEP, the individual education plan. I'm sure leaders around compliance. So I really want to talk about the IEP implementation. The process we can save for another time, but let's focus on implementation. So I'll go to you, Ms. Poole. So what are some of the challenges, especially in your role with, doing that shift from this, all we've known, at least in the United States, is education in the model of going to like an actual schoolhouse, a brick and mortar building. and meeting your teachers and interacting with one another and running the program in that way. What are some of the challenges now since COVID has happened and we have embraced this, distance learning model? Both some are doing asynchronous and synchronous work, kind of a mixture, a hybrid of both. But talk to us about some of the challenges that you're experiencing and or that are happening within your school building as well.
Yeah, so like you said, we're totally virtual at this point. Everyone had to shift, what was that, in March? So for our current 7th and 8th graders, because we had already developed that relationship with them, coming into this fall semester or season, it was a little bit easier than it was in March. But for our incoming 6th graders, as you can imagine, like these are the students who were transitioning to our school. And so it was difficult to build that relationship with them and their parents, to determine what is the schedule or needs they really had. Because if anyone knows about the process, it takes some time for their information to transfer over to our system. So we're just kind of going based off of what their parents are telling us, whether it's good or bad. So if it's a student who, let's say, may be on the spectrum, but the parent is telling us, oh no, they're fine and they can do X, Y, and Z, and they're not able to when we see them on the virtual platform. So that was, one of the biggest things that we had to deal with was to try to make a schedule that fits them, as well as get them, like you said, per their IEP, whatever reading hours, writing, or math support that they needed. But without getting their information until, let's say, the first or second week of September, we're just kind of winging it, going based off of whatever early information that we get from the various, data systems that we have in the district.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. I mean, there's an online system to access the IEP, but that wasn't made available to you upon enrollment or admission for the new school year.
Correct. So if it was more of a, let's say, a county-based school and we were a county school, the information would transfer a lot easier. But because we're a charter, we have to wait, to a certain level of enrollment before we get that information.
Wow.
So
okay.
we kind of like play blindly in the dark and, shoot for the best. And then as soon as we get the information, we have to quickly adapt to make sure that there are no lags, with the students' resources or their, let's say, related services.
Right. Interesting. So those are your incoming kind of 6th graders.
Right. So with the 6th graders, and we had this year we had like 16 new students with IEPs to come in with us. So that can be a challenge when, we want to, I guess, not overload a class, but again, make sure that they have the resources that they need.
Yeah. So there's a kind of a data collection process that I'm sure you engage in. Have you found that so you've collected the data up until the point the IEP arrives, and then you look at the IEP and you're like, it's not in alignment with what you're seeing with the data, is it easy to still hold a meeting? Are you doing virtual meetings? Like, what does that look like?
Yes, we've been able to have some virtual meetings with the parents. For the most part, I would say a good 80% of the incoming 6th grade parents have been receptive. They do want the best for their student. I mean, unfortunately, they have had bad experiences at their elementary schools, and then they come to us and we try to do what we need to do to make sure that the student gets what they need. So they've been receptive and we've been able to make adjustments when needed.
Okay. So you are holding virtual IEP meetings though, right? Is that how you're doing it?
Yes, no in-person meetings right now.
Okay. All right. So Tia, I'll go to you about some of the challenges. I don't know if you can even relate to some of the things that she was saying. Feel free to speak on that if so, but I'd love to hear, kind of your thoughts about how it's been as far as implementing the IEP. And I know you also case manage, right, at the school you're at. So you have kind of a foot in both worlds. So talk to us a little bit about your challenges.
So we were required to send out snapshots within the first week or so of school to all the teachers. And our whole population is over 2,000 students. So we have a large a large special ed caseload that's in our school overall. So we sent that out to the teachers so they're aware, they can look over it and hopefully be able to accommodate and modify anything they had to, do in the classroom. For me, in the classroom, it's a little difficult. It's not in person, it's distance learning. I wish I could sit there and just sit with a student and be able to, get to know the student better, or, know their needs in person. And of course, we can't do that right now. So there is some absentees going on with students not attending classes. And I could just go from students I know from last year that I have built a rapport with. Some teachers have reached out to me to try to figure out what's going on with the students. And so absentee, not being able to log in properly, not understanding the work, kind of reiterating things over, giving directions over again. But the good thing about Zoom is that, we are utilizing breakout rooms. So me and my co-teacher, we plan often because we try to reach the needs of all of our students. So we plan often, and a lot of our planning is reflecting on what we could have did differently or what we need to do differently with the same skill. So right. We're not even caught up to where we should be at in the curriculum yet, because it's kind of reteaching, not understanding, reteaching. So it's a lot of planning going on with me and my co-teacher, which we get along well. So the great thing is, it's fine. We do it over Zoom. We do it in between on our breaks, during our, periods that we have off, we do that. But it's difficult. And some of the students are getting it well. They're understanding, they're asking questions, but some of the other students, you say, okay, I'm here for you. What do you need? What do you understand? I understand. And that's a lot of the responses we're getting is, I understand. I understand. I got it. And then you look into Google Classroom and you say, no, you don't have it. So you go back on and you say, okay, listen, I know you say you got it, but let me teach this again. Because what I seen was this. Let me teach it again to you. I did a Zoom meeting at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday night because some of my students really wanted to understand the concept, and I really wanted to be there for them and help them through it. So, we got on Zoom, I was sitting right here and we walked through the steps of understanding it. And so when students reach out, I'm available. I make time throughout my schedule, because since we're home, I could just say, okay, I know I have a break, bedtime of the kids, whatever, and I'll be available. But they're not saying that they need the help. So that's frustrating because, I'm not there with them. I can't say, look, I see how you're writing this first paragraph. It's not properly done. But all I can do is go by what they say. And, oh no, I got it this time. I got it. Good. Are you sure? Like, let me share the screen with you. Right. Let me share it with you. Let me see it. So then I walk them through the process, and then when they get offline, nothing's submitted. So it's difficult because some students are getting it. Some students ask questions, but those students who are not able to advocate for themselves, especially ninth graders, who are not able to speak up and say, hey, I really need this help, they're getting lost. And, oh my goodness. And so that's a challenge right now, is that, we're not here. We can't reach everybody, but those who, know how to speak up and ask for help and want to say, hey, Ms. Howard, please, can you do a one-on-one with me? And, and I'll be available, but they're not doing it.
Well, first, let me say this. I mean, wow. So like you have a certain level of kind of like comfort on this, even as we're talking right now. So like you can feel your passion and commitment to your students, and you actually make it very easy to talk with you and listen to you and hear you. So I want to just give you that feedback and applaud you for that, because it's not always easy to allow for your we talk a lot about that psychodynamic information, kind of like your feelings to come across over a screen, or your compassion and caring. But I don't know, for you, I felt it, as you were talking. And so I think, we talked last MindSpark Monday with 2 other educators who their training has been very much about building relationships. And it sounds as if, and like creating that safe space for kids. And it sounds as if you actually like have that mastered, and are more than willing to spend your time like helping these children. And this came out as well in our last conversation, that whenever they can get their kids to engage with them, teachers are making themselves available. And that's not always easy, especially when you are, you know, a parent of your own, you know, you have kids of your own at home, and you may be, you know, running a household and have a significant other. It's not easy to balance those things. And so I'm hearing that a lot. We're hearing that teachers are really kind of spread thin. But you show the reason why you get into this field, right? Because at your core, you are an educator at your core, and that embodies so many things. And that means caring for our students, meeting them where they are, and sometimes setting aside yourself to make sure that they achieve success. You also talked a lot about, you know, this whole idea of reteaching, you know, and utilizing your resources to go back and reteach. And that in itself, I think that might be some of the beauty in this model, right? This distance learning model, is that you are kind of able to take some extra time and pull kids into a breakout room or assign a small group, you know, meet to then go over something that you already taught in class. So that kind of, in that way, I feel like that is a pro, you know, to this current kind of climate that we're in. The advocating for yourself, you know, that's a big one. I don't know if you have any opinion about that, Ms. Poole. Like, you're working with teachers across middle school, right? And so that's a skill that, especially in students who receive special education services, you know, we're constantly teaching them, you know, those social skills. So is that something that you're dealing with your teachers or hearing from your teachers? And if so, kind of what are you guys putting in place to encourage or just teach that and nurture that in kids?
Right, yeah, so like you said, advocating is a huge thing. And that's something that I push for my middle school. Sorry, my little one. Sorry,
that's okay. That's okay. I understand.
In the background. Sorry.
Okay.
But yes, the advocating is a huge thing. Coming into this, you know, especially sixth graders, and speaking to their parents, just on like the IEP level, like it's important for the students to start being a part of that IEP process, especially for our Black and brown kids. Like, you have to be able to advocate and know what it is that what's going to help you get better. And so my 7th and 8th graders, they have they do better with advocating for themselves. So if they don't understand something, they know maybe if they don't have the best relationship with their teacher, but they know they can reach out to their case manager and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, I need some help. I'm struggling. Can you help me do X, Y, and Z assignment? And with the 6th graders, again, just trying to build that relationship with their case managers and other teachers, and to feel comfortable and empowered to say, I don't understand that, instead of just saying, oh yeah, I understand, and go home. And then I get an email the next evening from the parents saying, oh, little Johnny didn't understand. And I don't understand how to help them either, because I don't understand this assignment myself, from the parents' point of view. So yeah, advocating is a huge thing, and it's something that we build into pretty much everything that we do, and like part of our culture, for you to advocate for yourself, whether you're a gen ed.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's one of those skills that will transcend, you know, your teenage years, and really, you know, is something that you should, well, let's say learning that early, it never hurts. Never hurts to learn that early. All right, so well, what I'd like to do is spend a little bit of time, you know, we've identified some of those challenges. I'm not sure if any others pop up as we kind of, before we end, we can definitely, you know, talk about those. But I would like to segue into, so what is working, right? Like, you know, as educators, we're always kind of taught to look at the glass half full, so to speak, right? So what are the things that keep you going? What are the things that are actually proven to be effective in your practice, whether they were something that, you know, the district or the charter that you're at taught you, or things that, you know, organically came up over time? Understanding we're only 7 weeks into this, and I would love to see, you know, check in and kind of see where we are in December, you know, before we head into Christmas break. But what are you seeing, Latia, that's like proven to be effective and working?
And working from home. Right. So, you know, when you was talking in the beginning, saying, I'm sure there's other challenges that come up. I think that being effective is what you said, you know, being able to communicate with your students, with my caseload, being and coming across to them in a way that they feel comfortable with communicating back, you know, with speaking back, with they feel okay with responding. And I know that, you know, they see all these pictures across their screen, all these students in the class, and they're quietly sitting there like, I'm not going to respond.
Right.
So like we give the option of say, okay, 5 people put in a chat box what they think that, you know, what they think the response should be. So, and I noticed 5 people respond quickly in the chat box.
Right.
So trying to pull out, you know, that communication, that effort out of the students can work well with the chat box there. So that's one of the ways that I try to reach students by, you know, saying, okay, we'll put in a chat box. You don't want to speak up, just put in a chat box.
I love that.
The breakout rooms is working well right now. Pull them into breakout rooms, and I even separate, you know, sometimes I put them in a breakout room with a couple of kids, but then I pull one in each with me, so that they don't feel comfortable talking in groups. Okay, well, come with me, tell me, you know, show me your work. So things like that. The resources of Zoom are working better. I mean, of course, we have a lot to learn in distance learning. You know, we have a lot of trainings that's being offered in our district, a lot of trainings. A great chair is always helpful, and we do have that, and you know, good guidance in that way. And I just think that like last week, you know, Melissa, a student I had last year, I received a bulk email, including all these teachers and staff, saying this student has a no-show, you know, he's a no-show, he hasn't been coming to classes, so they were putting him up for having a meeting on his progress. And this is a repeater 9th grader. And so so I picked up the phone and I said, okay, let me try to call the student. And I got his mother, somebody that I don't know why they couldn't reach, but that day she answered for me. And I'm just like, look, your son is so smart. You know, I care for him. So I was just, you know, trying to let her know that I'm one of the people that really do care. I really don't want to see him fail. I want to see him grow. He's too intelligent. And she said, hold on 1 second, and put him on the phone. And so I said, hey, why aren't you going to class? You know, so I'm talking to him, and he knows. Last year he said, you're one of the only teachers that I feel like cares about me. Last year he said, him and his buddy, and that was very important to me. And I said, can you please log on? Can you please log on to do your work? And he logged on that day, and he's been logging on every day. And to me, that's an accomplishment. I'm so excited to, you know, I'm so excited to share that story, because he's a student that doesn't take well from, you know, from adults, but he's logged in. So I mean, communicating, like you said, being able to reach my students, pick up the phone. They can text me at Google on my phone. They text me my caseload, that is, because I have a rapport with them from last year. But the students now, that's what I want. I want to get a rapport with them. I want to be able to talk to them after class. But you know, 10 minutes in between class, you can't really stay long after. But I want to talk to them after class. I want to put them in a breakout room and say, hey, how's your day going?
Right.
Outside of trying to teach the curriculum and reteach the curriculum. So just the communication piece, I think, is an important piece to reach the students, and using the resources that your district provides you, and going to as many trainings as you can to try to figure out new ways. because this is new teaching for all of us. It's new for us, it's new for school. So we're all learning. We're all learning this year.
It really is. And I'm actually excited to see what this produces. You know, when this is all said and done with, and then there will be an end that we can come back together. What will education look like? I think the biggest thing, you know, for a lot of folks, and you mentioned this, Ms. Poole, is around, like, we already have an underperformance of our Black and brown, you know, students of color in comparison to their white peers. And so when we add, you know, the identification piece and having the IEP and being, you know, in special education, you know that there's an over-identification of Black males. The gap just widens and widens as we struggle to find, you know, the real individualized approach for these kids. And so, you know, it's exciting to me to, you know, promote in the work that MindWorks does in promoting Black and brown educators, you know, Black and brown leaders in the field, and really bringing forth their voices and their experiences. Because I think that some things are really missed when it comes to our kids. And when I say our kids, I say obviously those who receive special education services. The real fundamental, you know, approach needs to be relationship building, right? And through that, you learn the effective way of communicating. And through that, you build trust and you build a mutual respect. And you provide a classroom environment that's safe for learning, and your kids want to take an academic risk. And one of the things that I always say is there are teachable moments everywhere. Kids don't need to arrive at a schoolhouse building, you know, to benefit from that relationship, that teaching and learning opportunity. And I think, you know, you are proving that as we are, you know, talking here today, that it can still be done. With the, you know, older kids, you have kind of a little bit more opportunity to appeal to them in a way that you wouldn't be able to with your elementary, you know, age kids with using the chat box. One of the other suggestions, I don't know if either one of you use this or your teachers use this, Ms. Poole, but having Google Docs opened and screen share so that you can both type in a document or see a student typing in a document, especially for you, Tia, where you're doing English work. I know other platforms exist, you know, like Nearpod, and there are a couple others that right now aren't coming to me, but what other platforms are you guys using, or what other resources, what other applications are you using to kind of supplement the learning? Do you have any of those to share that either one of you? I see you, Ms. Poole, you came off of mute. What do you have?
So we're using, Webex platform versus Zoom, because there was some, you know, the whole like Zoom bombing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we went to like a little bit more secure platform. Like you said, Nearpod, the students use, the other one is called like I'm trying to remember, but like a live like quiz situation where the kids can get, you know, let's say a quiz that they would actually take on the platform, and just to see how they would, like a practice round. And the students seem to be, you know, feel safe enough to throw in their answers, whether they're right or wrong, and they can see it in live time if they're getting it wrong, so to be read, so they have an opportunity to go back and, you know, look at their notes and try to get the correct answer. I'm trying to think, there's a couple different applications that they use, but those are like the two main ones that I've seen in a classroom.
Okay. And Tia, are there any applications that you particularly are fond of that are working for you, or that the district shared and you're still kind of trying to figure out?
Well, Nearpod is one. Newzilla.
Yeah.
Because Newzilla is according to, you can do it according to the reading level.
The reading level, yeah, I heard this one, yeah.
I've used, it's a book creator, so kind of to get the creative side out of it. I've used that. So I've used several things, but we have in our district, we have a whole place that we can go to. And let me see, I could just read a few, but we have a place that we can go to where all of those are offered there.
Mm-hmm.
There is Book Creator, there is the actual books that I read. I heard of quizzes too, Code Academy. There's all kind of things offered. Human kinetics, just different stuff offered according to what you teach for your student. So they can go there on their own. They can go to Brain Pop. They can go there on their own and access it at their own time. And teachers can assign them. You know, so for instance, if it's Newzilla, I can assign in Google Classroom. I can assign all my kids in the Zilla one in the Google Classroom according to their reading level. And there's like comprehension questions and quizzes to go with that. So in simple like exit slips that you can change around and to ask questions, do multiple choice, those type of things. So we do have a place that teachers can go to and students can go to where they can just click on something, you know, that they, even if, and it's and typing, because a lot of students, with my kids too, I heard parents talk to the teachers in their class, and they said, well, my kids, you know, haven't had typing. They're having a really hard time typing in these boxes, and you have a time frame on these assignments, and they still, you know, so little things like that, that hopefully is helpful to them at home. I use it, and I think it's a definite need for it. So, and my kids, their classes, they use it as well. So
yeah. All right, yeah, those are ones that I'm pretty familiar with. So one of the things that, you know, I just from an outsider's perspective, just, you know, maybe even wearing my parent lens and then some of my, you know, area of expertise lens, it seems as if the bigger districts were able to reallocate budget funds to securing some of these, you know, more resources, so to speak, than some of the non-publics or the charters. And so I've been kind of impressed with talking to folks who work in the district, because they really have like abundance amount of resources at their fingertips. I know that I spoke with a colleague of mine who's in Baltimore County, and kind of like you, Tia, within your district, they, you know, kind of have a lot of professional developments going on, and a lot of these, you know, resources are being made available to them. I think, you know, it's just so many interesting things coming from this, but it's like now it's up to the teacher to kind of take it and make it their own and really kind of embrace it. And I know sometimes, you know, depending on how your comfort level with technology, you know, you may or may not be striding right now, you know, in your classroom. So I'm just really grateful that I had the opportunity to speak with the both of you. It has been like just wonderful hearing how you guys are functioning in your spaces as women of color who have their own kids at home. You know, I know that it's a lot of juggling balls. But I know if my kids were with either one of you, I would feel very comfortable and confident that you are committed to making sure that they learn. I think, you know, further conversations around the IEP, you know, Ms. Poole, one of the things that's swirling around in my head is like, okay, so let's say, you know, we have a year, you know, we're in our annual time for the IEP, and we're taking in certain, you know, data, and now we're presenting it, but it kind of maybe is showing something different than what we had been set our goals on, like kind of working on. What will we change in the IEP? I mean, because under law, we should. And one of the things that comes up is behavioral stuff, right? So we're seeing like a lot of a decrease from my understanding in behaviors, right? And the need for that. So will those go away?
It's you know, you brought that up, because that was one of my my challenges was like quality data. But yeah, like you said, especially around that behavior. And it's interesting when the babies come from elementary school, kind of the tales that, you know, the IEP, you know, the story that it's telling. it's a little bit different from what we, you know, see in middle school. And it's like, hey, is this the same kid? But, you know, let's give it that honeymoon period and see if they're going to show out.
Right.
But I mean, sometimes they don't. It's, you know, environment sometimes. So
absolutely. And
very interesting.
Yeah, this is a serious environmental change, right? So some of the data I want to see is, I want to see, you know, the behavioral data. I want to see, I can imagine there's probably no suspensions or minimal suspensions, you know. I know I've seen you, Tia. So some of the suspensions I would want to see last year to this year. Attendance would be the other one that I want to see. And then far as internally, kind of like the engagement and then the observation tools and kind of, you know, the observation component, like the growth and development of the actual teacher, the special educator. Because I can imagine that there's a place for that, but what does that look like? You know, what does that look like for everybody involved? So I'd like to further the conversation with you guys at another time. Our time is up today though. I want to encourage the both of you though. I think I invited you both to the Mind Hive. I want to say you probably are somewhat active. A couple things that are going on for MindWorks right now is that community. We're just trying to build that community on the Mind Hive. So, you know, things like this conversation or connecting with other educators that kind of like you vibe with and you may share resources with, or just throw something up on the timeline. Hey, this was relevant to me. I kind of post a lot of articles and things for just food for thought for folks, but we really want to generate kind of more conversation and have that space. The other thing is our beta prototype of our two-sided marketplace is currently being tested. I'm going to send you all an invite to get on there. That pretty much connects like families or people seeking someone in the field of special education. So it's kind of like, you know, that place where you can find somebody that you might want to connect with. There's a family, you know, that needs someone to tutor their kid, or a school that's looking for talent, looking for folks to kind of join their team. Some folks might be looking for a social worker or, you know, an occupational therapist or a physical therapist. So I'll send you guys the link to get on there and kind of give us some feedback as well. But I thoroughly enjoyed our dialogue. On behalf of MindWorks and all the work that we do, thanks for joining us for MindSpark Monday. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.